Esteemed members of the Parliament, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for this opportunity today to share our experiences in the situation in Serbia. And my colleagues have already covered many issues that they are struggling with in the past 13 years in Serbia. I would like to remind all of us that the European Commission, in its latest non-paper on rule of law, describes Serbia as a country with high political pressure on the judiciary, high pressure on civil society, absence of free media and free elections, and high level of corruption in the public sector. The collapse of Canopy in Novi Sad on 1st November last year, when 16 people tragically lost their lives, has become a symbol of the weakness of Serbia's legal and institutional order. As you know, this incident sparked mass student and civic protests that have been going on for the last 10 months all around the country. Instead of meeting the requirements of students and citizens, the government has chosen to apply brutal police force against peaceful protesters. How far this brutality goes shows a case in which one police unit, which has no authority to take actions against citizens, has captured, among the others, students Nikolina Sinđelić and Stefan Zdravković, beat them up, smashed their phones and cameras, and the unit commander threatened to Nikolina that he would rape her. Nikolina and Stefan are also activists of the People's Movement of Serbia. But as my colleague asked, is it justified to be that Nikolina is threatened to be raped by the police officer just because she is expressing her political opinion? During the past 13 years, the regime, once rooted in the radical values while pretending to be pro-European, destroyed all mechanisms which are in every democratic society aimed to limit and control the power of the government. All those who have different opinions are by the highest state officials called Nazis, Ustaše, and foreign mercenaries. Teachers are getting fired and state universities are under the threat of closing. For the chaos which they create, Serbian state officials are blaming the European Union, saying that in Serbia is in place color revolution, which is financed by the Europe. However, when they meet with the European Union officials, they keep repeating their commitment to Serbia's EU integration, only in order to continue receiving money from the EU funds, but any substantial change in the integration process is not on their agenda. I would like to remind all of us to some of the key values of the European Union: freedom, democracy, rule of law, human rights, and peace. If we want to stay faithful to them, the governments of the potential member countries should always be monitored if they essentially comply to those values, and sanctioned if they fail to do so. Cultural heritage of values of the Serbian people belong to Europe. Despite that, for 13 years, those values are trampled by the government, while at the same time it promotes corruption, criminal behavior, violence, limitless power, pressure on judiciary, journalists and civil society, and persecution of the opposition politicians. People of Serbia are tired of this. But because of that, they had no choice to defend values and ask for justice on the streets. Martin Luther King said, "Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere." Esteemed members of the parliaments, if someone chooses today to stay silent and look the other way, stability and prosperity of the whole region would be jeopardized. If someone chooses to look the other way and silently provide the support to the autocratic regime in Serbia, it could share the responsibility for any escalation which might happen in the future. The only thing necessary for the triumph of evil is for good men to do nothing. Good men of Serbia will continue to fight for justice, rule of law, human rights, and values they believe in. We need a concrete support from the European Union. We ask from the EU to support a justified fight of the people of Serbia and the request for elections, because the regime of Aleksandar Vučić has no legitimacy to run the country anymore. And people of Serbia deserve to live in a democratic society in the 21st century.